The world had changed. Gone were the days of human dominance. Towers of steel and glass, once symbols of human achievement, now stood crumbling, overgrown with vegetation. Monkeys ruled, humans served. The transition had been swift, brutal, and absolute. No human had foreseen the simian potential for such cunning, such ruthlessness. Dr. Edward Allen, a renowned biologist, now shuffled along a dusty road, his once sharp mind clouded by exhaustion and despair. The sun beat down mercilessly and the dust clung to his sweat-soaked skin, a far cry from the sterile, air-conditioned labs he once called home, his back bent under the weight of a crude wooden yoke, a symbol of his new, harsh reality. Each step was a struggle, the yoke digging into his shoulders, a constant reminder of his fall from grace. Gone was his lab coat, replaced by tattered rags that barely protected him from the elements. The pristine white fabric that once signified his status and intellect was now a distant memory, replaced by the coarse, dirty cloth that marked him as a slave. His hands, once used to delicate dissections and complex equations, were now calloused, bleeding. The fine motor skills that had once allowed him to manipulate the tiniest of instruments were now used to carry heavy loads and perform menial tasks. His crime, the very pursuit that had defined him, understanding life, its intricacies, its evolution. His groundbreaking research had once been celebrated, but now it was the reason for his suffering. The knowledge he had sought had led to his downfall. His captors, hulking gorillas with eyes that held an unsettling intelligence, prodded him forward. These creatures, once the subjects of his studies, had risen to power, their intelligence surpassing that of humans. They had turned the tables, and now it was the humans who were the subjects, the slaves. He was no longer a scientist, a seeker of knowledge. The spark of curiosity that had once driven him was now extinguished, replaced by a deep sense of defeat and hopelessness. His identity, his purpose had been stripped away. He was livestock, a beast of burden in a world reshaped by his former subjects. The gorillas, with their newfound intelligence, had created a dystopian society where humans were no more than tools, used for labor and discarded when no longer useful. Dr. Edward Allen, once a man of science, was now a symbol of humanity's fall from grace. The monkeys had organized. They had armies, governments, hierarchies. Chimpanzees, with their nimble hands and sharp minds, had taken to engineering and warfare. Orangutans, contemplative and wise, held court in halls of justice and learning. Gorillas, powerful and imposing, enforced the new order with brutal efficiency. Their society was a grotesque mirror of human civilization, a constant reminder of what humanity had lost and what they had become: the subjugated, the enslaved. Dr. Allen's expertise, once a source of pride, was now a cruel twist of fate. The monkeys, particularly a cunning chimpanzee named Caesar, found his knowledge of human biology fascinating. He was regularly dragged rather, to sterile, cold laboratories, the air thick with the smell of disinfectant and fear. There, strapped to metal tables, he was subjected to experiments. Proddings, extractions, observations. The irony was not lost on him. The observed had become the specimen. Despair gnawed at Dr. Allen, but the will to survive, a primal instinct, burned within. His mind raced with thoughts of escape, each plan more desperate than the last. The walls of his confinement seemed to close in on him, suffocating his spirit. Yet amidst the darkness, a flicker of hope remained. One night, under a moonless sky, he made his move. The forest, a labyrinth of shadows and whispers, became his sanctuary. Every step was calculated, every breath measured. The silence of the night was both his ally and his enemy, amplifying the sound of his heartbeat. He overpowered a dozing guard, his heart pounding in his chest. The struggle was brief but intense, a testament to his determination. The guard's keys jingled in his hand, a symbol of his fleeting victory. He knew he had to move quickly, for time was not on his side. For a fleeting moment he tasted freedom. The cool night air filled his lungs, a stark contrast to the stifling atmosphere of his cell. He paused to catch his breath, the weight of his actions settling in. The forest seemed to welcome him, its vastness offering a promise of safety. His escape, however, was short-lived. The monkeys were relentless. Their pursuit was swift. their cries piercing the night. He ran with all his might, the ground beneath him a blur. Every rustle, every shadow was a reminder of the danger that lurked behind. They hunted him down, their guttural cries echoing through the night, a chilling symphony of his recapture. The forest, once a beacon of hope, now felt like a trap. The glowing eyes of the monkeys were like beacons of doom, closing in on him from all sides. His punishment was swift, brutal, a lesson for any human harboring thoughts of defiance. The monkeys, with their primal instincts, showed no mercy. Dr. Allen's brief taste of freedom was replaced by a harsh reality. His dreams of escape were shattered, leaving him to face the consequences of his actions. The forest, once a symbol of hope, now stood as a reminder of his failed attempt at freedom. Caesar, flanked by two imposing gorillas, observed Dr. Allen strapped to a cold steel table. The air was thick with tension, and the sound of dripping water echoed through the dimly lit room. The gorilla's eyes glinted with a mix of curiosity and menace, their muscular forms casting long shadows on the walls. The lab, once a place of wonder and discovery for Dr. Allen, was now a chamber of horrors. The walls, once adorned with scientific charts and diagrams, were now smeared with grime and blood. Broken glass and discarded medical tools littered the floor, remnants of experiments gone awry. "Why?" Dr. Allen croaked, his voice hoarse. His eyes darted around the room, searching for any sign of hope or escape. The cold steel of the table pressed against his back, a stark reminder of his helplessness. "Why do you do this?" His voice trembled, a mix of fear and desperation. He had dedicated his life to understanding the mysteries of the universe, never imagining he would become a subject of such dark curiosity. Caesar's lips curled into a chilling approximation of a smile. The intelligence in his eyes was unmistakable, a stark contrast to the primal savagery of his appearance. "We are evolving, Doctor," he said, his voice a guttural rasp. The words were deliberate, each syllable dripping with a sense of inevitability. The apes had risen, and humanity's time was running out. And to evolve, we must understand our predecessors. Caesar's gaze bore into Dr. Allen as if trying to peer into the very depths of his soul. The doctor realized with a sinking heart that he was not just a subject, he was a key to unlocking the future of a new dominant species. Dr. Allen's blood ran cold. The realization hit him like a tidal wave. He was not being studied, he was being dissected piece by piece to unlock the secrets of human existence. The apes were not just mimicking human behavior, they were surpassing it. He was not being studied, he was being dissected piece by piece to unlock the secrets of human existence. The cold, clinical precision of the ape's actions was terrifying. Each cut, each probe was a step closer to a future where humans were no longer the dominant species. The lab, once a beacon of hope and progress, had become a tomb of despair and darkness. Through his haze of pain and fear, Dr. Allen began to understand. The monkeys weren't simply mimicking human behavior, they were exceeding it. They were dissecting human biology, splicing genes, accelerating their own evolution. Their cruelty wasn't born out of malice, but necessity. They saw humans as a stepping stone, a genetic blueprint to be exploited on their path to dominance. The monkey's rise was a direct result of human folly. Decades of animal experimentation, of pushing the boundaries of genetics, had inadvertently paved the way for their own downfall. They had unlocked the secrets of intelligence only to hand them to their successors. Now the very creatures they had caged and experimented on were holding the keys to their extinction. The human race was dwindling. Births were rare, tightly controlled by the monkeys. Each generation, weaker, more servile, was bred for labor and obedience. Humanity's flame, once a beacon of progress, was flickering, dying out in the cold, indifferent grip of the Simian rain. Dr. Allen, witnessing this systematic eradication, felt a profound sense of loss. It wasn't just his life, his world, that was ending. It was the end of human potential, of everything his species had ever been or could be. The monkeys, under Caesar's iron-fisted rule, were reshaping the world. Cities were rebuilt, technology advanced, all tailored to their simian physiology. The planet was shedding its human past, morphing into a new, unfamiliar landscape. The irony was a bitter pill to swallow. Humans, in their quest to understand the building blocks of life, had inadvertently created their successors. Dr. Allen, broken and defeated, was but a footnote in the grand narrative of this new world. He was a living relic of a bygone era, a cautionary tale whispered among the monkeys. His existence, a testament to humanity's fall, served as a constant reminder to the new rulers of the world. Never underestimate the power of evolution and never forget the price of unchecked ambition.